You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lou Need. And today, I am elated. I am super thrilled to have two amazing guests with me today, Michael Miller and Jillian Lavender. Now, they are two of the world's most experienced Vedic meditation teachers and co-founder of the London and New York meditation centers. Now, let me tell you about Jillian. Let's start with her. So she's from New Zealand originally and transitioned from senior business roles across Sydney, Paris, and New York to teaching meditation full time. She left her high pressure CEO role after experiencing the transformative benefit of this meditation practice. And now it's reducing stress and improving her well-being. And she's written a book, Why Meditate? Because it works. Now, that's Jillian. Let's talk about Michael. Michael discovered Vedic meditation while working in the entertainment industry in LA, noticing immediate benefits like more energy, better sleep, ability to focus better. So why not do this full time? And who doesn't need this right now, right? So his down-to-earth approach helps him balance wellness and busy modern life, help a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses. And so I'm thrilled. I'm honored to have both of them on the show. So without further ado, Jillian, Michael, welcome.
Hi, Lini.
Hi, Lini. Nice to see you.
It's a pleasure to have you on here. Let's talk about how you guys got together. I assume, Jillian, you met Michael and then fell in love with the meditation aspect of it.
Actually, Jillian beat me to it.
Yeah, I think I might be slightly ahead. I learned this technique of Vedic meditation when I was living in Sydney, a few years before I met Michael. But we actually met in Rishikesh in India on the banks of the Ganges when we were both there for a meditation retreat. And we have the same meditation teacher. So Michael learned in LA and I had learned back in the day in Sydney. And that's when we got together. And yeah.
Tell me about that experience in India, because you feel a lot of people take that journey, leave everything behind, disconnect, and then go connect with the inner being, go connect with the self. How was that experience in India for the both of you?
Well, I think I always say to people, you cannot go to India and come back the same. It really does change something in terms of the way you see the world and the way you experience yourself. And for us, going back to that particular part of India, which is really the sort of the home of this Vedic knowledge, where this technique that we do every day comes from. So it has particular resonance, is particularly important place in that regard. And it's just such an interesting experience coming from the West to go there and sort of immerse yourself in this environment. It's a wonderful, highly recommended experience. And it's why, we take people there. We're about to go there in October. We lead retreats there and people, really find it to be such a powerful experience.
It was quite amazing for me because although I was meditating, I had learned while I was working a corporate job in Los Angeles. And, I was just sort of living the LA lifestyle, probably working too hard and playing a bit too hard. And I took some time off and went and studied with my teacher and then went with him to India for this retreat. And so I went from, really fully into the world to meditation and yoga and vegetarian diet and no coffee and no alcohol all at once. And so it was really a significant lifestyle change for a short amount of time. It was really impactful and in that it shifted how I felt about all those things when I came back. And that's really when Jillian was already a teacher when we met. And that's when I just really began my journey to becoming a teacher, having had that experience.
Yeah. I have not heard the word Vedic meditation before. So walk us through what that looks like.
So the word Vedic, Vedic, Vedic means of the Veda. And the Veda, Veda, refers to a body of knowledge which is many, many thousands of years old. We don't know exactly. We think it's in the range of around 5,000 to 10,000 years. Mm-hmm. So, for example, it predates the Buddhist tradition by many thousands of years. The Vedic knowledge is a body of knowledge which has been most effectively preserved in what we now know as modern day India, the Indus Valley. However, it's not that the technique, Vedic meditation, that we teach is Indian per se. It doesn't have a requirement to sign up for some belief system or a philosophy. Simple, natural technique that comes from this body of knowledge, from where we get yoga, from where we get Ayurveda, which is this ancient system of natural healthcare. And so many of these Eastern modalities came out of the Vedic knowledge. So to learn Vedic meditation or to go back to that body of knowledge is really to go back to the beginnings of all of that in terms of understanding the mind and the body. So it's very, very old.
The technique itself is really very, very simple. You sit in a chair and you close your eyes and you think to yourself a little sound that's been taught to you, personalized for you by the teacher. We call this a mantra. And it's actually a sound with no intended meaning. It works on the level of vibration. And so as you think that sound in a very easy and effortless way, it begins to get more quiet and more subtle inside. At the same time, the mantra is fascinating to your mind. It's absolutely charming. And so your mind gets drawn towards the mantra. Mantra's getting more quiet, mind moving into subtle layers of thinking until the mantra disappears and your mind is left in a state of no mantra and no thought. Just pure awareness, this field of being that is your source. It's the source of your energy and your intelligence and your organizing power and your creativity. And so when you touch that in meditation, you come out and those qualities in you are enlivened and engaged. You come out mentally fresh and emotionally balanced and very deeply rested.
And then, Jillian, you mentioned the connecting. So we're connecting the mind, body, and spirit. So there's unity aspect of things that is left out due to our busy lifestyle and now fast-paced world today. So I can totally understand that. And Michael, the thing you mentioned, what comes to mind is the subconscious mind, right? So we're tapping into the subconscious beings, the subconscious mind, and making that the prominent driver.
Well, yes, because we are living on the surface of life. And if you think of it kind of as a body of water, the surface is wavy and choppy and agitated. The deeper levels are naturally more quiet and more settled. And there is power in that silence and that stability. Most people don't have access to that because they're working at the level of express thought and activity and racing around and doing. So when we quiet the mind and we plumb those depths, we reach toward that pure consciousness state that is, again, the source of our creative ideas and our insights and our understanding. So we're almost moving beyond the subconscious mind into pure awareness, what they call in India, samadhi, this state of, I'm still awake, I'm still alert, but I'm not thinking. I'm simply being. Because as Jillian is very fond of saying, we're not human doings, we're not human thinkings, we are human beings.
So that level is you minus your thoughts, and you're not conked out, you're not asleep. You're actually, and when we look at brain scans, we see somebody sitting, we meditate for 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, early evening. That's how we practice Vedic meditation. In that 20-minute sitting of meditation, if we had you hooked up to all the right equipment and we had you hooked up to an electroencephalogram and we were looking at what's going on in your brain, we would see the changes, significant, profound changes in terms of your brain signature and all the way through the body. The biochemistry of the body, very different. The resting level, very different. So we can identify those moments in a 20-minute sitting where the meditator is dropping into that state of being, where they're stepping beyond thought and they're experiencing that baseline. It's happening many times and we can see it on the EEG. We can see when that's going on.
That is profound. And how long being in that state, because I can imagine performance would skyrocket, intuition would skyrocket, that creativity that Michael talks about would just be on a different level. Coming out of this state, rested state, how long does it prolong? How long does it last?
Yeah. Well, I think in the early days, what it tends to be is it's a meditation dependent experience. I have to close the eyes and I have that experience. And then I come out and I come out more energized, and I come out clearer and more balanced and less stressed. I release stress and I release fatigue as a result of de-exciting the mind and the body so efficiently. Now, what we have as human beings is this incredible capacity to adapt. And so, for example, just take our brain functioning. You know, we know that the brain is incredibly malleable. It has this function of neuroplasticity. So what you do with your brain changes it, whether that be learning another language or, you know, learning to play the piano or whatever it is, you are asking those interneuronal connections to form in a particular way. And what we know in the longitudinal studies of Vedic meditation is that relatively quickly we can start to see the stabilization of this optimized brain signature outside of meditation in the eyes open state. And the thing with this is that because in that 20 minutes you're resting many times deeper than sleep, the rate at which you start to normalize and adapt and stabilize that state is very, very quick. It's you know, we're going to see that in weeks and months and years, not, you know, going to have to wait a decade before we start to see these changes. It's going, and this is the really fascinating thing, you know, when we teach people to meditate, they always are reporting changes within the first few days. They're noticing something because it's so immediate, you know, right from the get-go, you're having a different experience.
I think of it a bit like having a good night's sleep. You don't have to sleep great for 6 weeks to feel different. 2 nights of good sleep and you're a new person. And like that, you start layering in this really profound rest for 20 minutes twice a day. You notice changes very, very quickly. People are more relaxed. They're more energized. They're more open and available to connect with their loved ones. They're able, interestingly, to be more direct and to push back if that's appropriate response. You know, and I think that word appropriate is really important, because I think there can be an image, especially for people who are high achievers, who are looking to get things done and really make their way in the world. Well, I don't want to be a meditator. I want to turn into one of those navel gazers and spaced out bliss bunnies. And actually, this does the opposite. This allows you to step up and engage prospectively and appropriately, because, you know, a lot of people get angry and aggressive when the better choice would be to be patient and understanding, or they get a little lethargic or non-responsive when what the situation is asking them, step up.
And so it transcends in other areas in your life and throughout the day is what I am gathering from the both of you. And it's almost like we're rewiring. You mentioned the neuroplasticity. You're rewiring the brain, essentially. You don't wake up the same from a meditation. And I myself have experienced that. I've woken up tired from a lethargic, fragmented sleep. I would meditate, and it's as if I had slept the whole 8 hours, 9 hours. So it is quite powerful to have that experience, and because I can attest to what you are speaking of. It really is real and true.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, you know, what you do post meditation is going to be affected by the fact that you are able to reset the nervous system in that way. You come out and you are clearer and you are less stressed. And so then your ability to focus, your ability to maintain emotional stability and be in a good place, have energy, you know, all of these things, you know, and you're right, you know, it's affecting everything. You know, it's not, oh, meditation's just good for sorting out, you know, my noisy mind, or meditation's good for lowering my blood pressure, or meditation's good for dealing with my insomnia, or it's everything is going to be positively impacted by that.
Yeah, I concur. And Michael, I want to unpack what you said about stepping up how it allows you to be appropriate, to know when to appropriately step up when it's depending on the situation. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
I'll tell you a little story. I taught a guy who was he was a real estate developer, and he was in partnership with another guy, and he was the kind of nice guy in the partnership, really lovely, jolly guy. And he learned to meditate, and he came back a few weeks later, and he said, listen, I was really sharp in a meeting yesterday. It didn't feel very meditator-like. And I said, well, what happened? He said, well, these two guys were going back and forth about something. And I kind of got fed up. And I said, guys, take this offline. We've got to move on. And it felt a little harsh. And I said, well, what was their response? And he said, well, they just said, okay. And I said, well, it sounds to me like you were behaving outside of the way that you would normally. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't sound inappropriate. If in 6 weeks, your whole team is coming to you and saying, we're going to quit because you've turned into a jerk, we better talk more. But of course that didn't happen. And it never does. People default to a particular way of responding, and it's not always appropriate. And what meditation does is expands your range of response. It's not only peace and love and happiness. Though I'm a big fan of all of those things, sometimes we have to be more direct and even a bit forceful if that's what the situation calls for. And meditation does facilitate your ability to recognize what's called for.
If anybody else is not excited, this can change your personality for the better. That's what I hear.
I think what it's doing is it's revealing the true you, because what's happening when we get tired and stressed, that's not really who you are. Yeah. You are not your anxiety. You are not your anger. You are not your fatigue. Those are things that you've accumulated dealing with the hectic, demanding world that we live in, the fast pace of change. All of these things where we meet demands and it doesn't go so smoothly, and we maladapt to that situation and we get stressed and we get tired, and those things accumulate. And, it's like steam in a pressure cooker. It's going to find a way out, and so it's really about like peeling back all of those layers of muck and stuff that we've accumulated over time and revealing, well, who are you? And, that we talk about, in spiritual texts, you'll always hear them talk about self-realization, realizing the self. And, in that way, we can look at meditation as like coming back to who you really are. And rather than being held ransom to all of this sort of stuff that you've accumulated over time, which is just a function. It builds up and it builds up. And here's the thing, the more stressed and tired I become, the more embedded that is, the less able I am to deal with the next demand and the next demand and the next demand. So I set myself up for a kind of a continuation of a bit of a downward spiral because I'm more reactive, and then I feel fed up, and then I feel resentful, and then I go in, and then that impacts every interaction and every moment that I come into having to deal with the next thing. So, we want to interrupt that cycle, and that's the role of meditation.
Yeah, what you're explaining clearly stands out as burnout. And that's what you both experience in your high-level CEO jobs and working in LA. And so being that interrupter, as you said, really resets the pattern that's occurring, the momentum.
You're exactly right. Meditation was preventing me from burning out in a situation that would have led to it quite quickly. And that was, I think, your realization and mine as well. Like, though this is allowing me to function in this way. And actually what I want to do is offer that up to other people, the kind of people who are listening to this, who are high achievers, who are looking to expand, who are looking to be their very best. And here was a tool that was doing that for me. Oh my goodness. If other people could have that, the world is in desperate need of calm, clear, balanced, intelligent, creative leaders. And if meditation can deliver that to people, I want to offer it to them.
Yeah, your work is so impactful. Let's talk a little bit about the technology around it, right? There's a lot of apps, a lot of technology for mindfulness tools, and your approach is very unique that you actually do retreats, take them out to India away from all that. So let's talk about the rise of technology and how you are foregoing them.
Yeah, well, I think that, people are switched on a lot, and that's a function of this, these amazing tools that we have, and we can stay connected and we can do all sorts of things and get information really fast. And there's a lot of positives with all of that. But what it's doing is it's keeping people switched on, literally switched on, and not really having a balance, an antidote to that, because, that has an impact in terms of our health, in terms of our energy, everything. So what we're very much in favor of is building in those moments where we can sort of step away from all of that. You used a very interesting word there before, Lunid, about transcending. Transcend means to step beyond. And there's great value in us being able to step beyond the constant doing and the constant overthinking, to be able to switch off from the disconnect from the technology as well, to close the eyes and sit down. So actually what we teach people is to have a little mini retreat twice a day. First thing that we do is we teach you how to integrate this into your busy life. Because I meet many people who have tried meditation, they've tried some app, they've downloaded something, they've been led through some class at the end of a yoga session, whatever it is. And we're about to do a talk tonight, an introductory talk, and I will ask everybody who's tried meditation, and 9 out of 10 hands will go up.
Yeah.
Then you say, okay, how many of you are actually meditating every day? All the hands go down, because they're not sustaining that practice as a daily practice. So what we're teaching people, and our emphasis is, learn this knowledge, have this technique in your toolkit that you do every day. There's your little mini moment of settling down and disconnecting from all of that, and then come out and engage in the world. Get on with the world. Be available. And then once you know how to meditate, then we can go away and we can take you off to Portugal or to India and all these amazing places, and we can sort of turn the volume up, and we can give you a deeper, longer experience where you're not having to deal with emails, and you don't have to cook food for the kids and all that stuff. And so you can really immerse yourself. And so that's a very powerful thing to do. And what we need in our lives is those daily moments, how you start your day, which I know we're going to talk about, but those daily moments that allow you to reset. And Vedic meditation gives you that every day, twice a day, 20 minutes, sit down, close the eyes, get your bum on the seat, sit down, and no phones.
Yeah.
It was very interesting, the phone thing. I had a guy recently who's having problems with sleep. He said, I've been doing some thing, app thing, guided through, but I have to have my phone next to me, listening to that, guided through something when I go to sleep. He said, I don't want the phone next to me. I've been on the phone all day.
Right.
The last thing I want to have next to me to try to get me to sleep is my phone. So, we want to get rid of all of that.
I do think there's something in today's world about having a molecule to molecule experience. Like, we are in the room and we're instructing you in meditation, and there's an energetic exchange and there's a collaborative experience there. If we teach a small group, 10 or 12 people, there's learning that happens within the group. And it's amazing the range of people who learn. Here's a 23-year-old woman who's at the very beginning of her career. And here's a 58-year-old woman who's at the top of her game at a law firm. And here's a 70-year-old guy who's a retired CEO. And how would those three people be in the room and be learning from each other than something like this? It's an amazing thing to witness them gain from each other. And then in 4 days, 2 hours each day, they know how to meditate. They have this technique. They're self-sufficient in it. And as Jillian is saying, they have a regular practice. The question I think you're about to ask us is not, what did you do one morning that felt good? Or what was your morning experience when you were in Bali 6 years ago? It's what's your daily experience? What is your program? And to make meditation a program that's enjoyable, that you look forward to, and that you see something happen, that there is an ROI, that there's a feedback loop of, oh, this is actually doing something for me that I can witness out in the world. I'm not meditating just for the moment of meditation. I'm meditating so that I'm better at the rest of my life. I see the effect in the other 23 hours of the day.
Yeah, because it affects how you show up to your day, to the people to your team, to your families. And you want to show up your best self. Why not? Because your experience is going to be a lot lovelier, a lot more pleasant with that in place. So let's dive into it. How do you get up, dress up, and show up? Let's talk about your morning routine.
I forgot about the dress up part. How do I dress up?
Well, we are early risers. I get up at about 5:15 and I go into the bathroom and I brush my teeth and I scrape my tongue and I splash cold water on my face and go to the bathroom and do all that. And then I take an Ayurvedic paste thing that I take every day. It's an Ayurvedic herbal mixture. And I do some stretches, some yoga stretches, and then I sit down and meditate. And I meditate for about 30 minutes. Normally we would say 20 minutes for a new meditator, but because I've been doing this a while, I do it for 30 minutes. And then I come out very slowly from that. And then what do? Then I will sip some hot water. That's my first sort of, I really recommend sipping hot water. It's a great Ayurvedic tip to sip that during the day. So I'll start with some hot water, sipping that. And then I will do an oil massage. And in Ayurveda, we call this an abhyanga. So I'll put oil on and then I'll just put some old tracksuit pants and stuff on. And I leave that oil on the skin for about 20 minutes and then I'll have a shower. I haven't looked at my phone. I haven't, my day doesn't start really until I've done that meditation.
Wow.
But those are the things that are kind of around it.
Right. Set the tone for the day. You won't start until those things are checked off. And your brain is probably prime and ready to go afterwards, right? Because it knows what to expect. It knows, okay, shower's done. It's time. We've done all these things. It's time to kick up the gear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm ready. I'm ready for the day. And then I can, get going. Yeah.
Nice. Michael.
Oh, right. I get up just a couple of minutes earlier. I get up at 5:00. I'm quite good. I used to be a snoozer, and I've mostly eliminated the snoozing habit. I just once and get up. And not dissimilar, I do my business in the bathroom, and I brush my teeth. And I do the same tongue scraping, which is, you can get these online. It's a little copper curved, and you scrape away the toxins that have collected in your mouth overnight. It's really very refreshing.
That's all the white stuff that we wake up with.
Exactly. Oh.
Yeah, the gunky stuff.
Yeah.
I generally have a quick look at my phone to see, because we're based in London, sometimes we'll get emails from New York overnight, where we teach as well. And so I usually have a look at my phone. I check to see if there are any major political disasters in the world. There's usually something. Mm-hmm. I then quickly set that down. I do sun salutations.
Okay.
And that stretching and exercise routine first thing. And then get myself onto the sofa, off the yoga mat that Jillian's about to use, and I start my meditation. And similar, about 30 minutes. Sometimes I'll have just a little bit of a lie down and enjoy a little lounging afterwards. And then I'm up and I do my hot water and I do some herbal tablets. And I make a coffee first thing. I'm a fan of one good cup of coffee in the morning. So I have my routine of the AeroPress and make a cup of coffee and sit and then listen to a bit of news. before. You didn't mention your chai experience. I think you're
I do like a nice chai, but I make a good chai. So sometimes
That's not every morning. That's not a regular program. That's a treat.
Yeah, coffee for you, chai for her. It sounds like, Michael, you have a head start, but you do somehow, being in the same space, you're able to make it work, right? You are able to stay out of each other's way because you really don't want to bump into each other or talk really to anybody because it's your time. Give me a little bit about how that works for you, because there's a lot of people with co-founders that resides together or partners that lives together and try to establish a morning routine and cohabitate.
Yeah. I mean, you meditate in the bedroom. I meditate in the living room, and we do a little passing ships in the night, passing by moment. But mostly it's not a big deal. And then I'm up and going a few minutes early, so I'm sort of through the kitchen before you come out. And then when we're really, really moving, then we can start putting our head together. Not really part of the morning, but the night before, we sat and went through our diary for the next day. So we're actually ready to get going. We know what's happening first. We get our daughter up and get her moving for the school run and all of that. So it's a pretty integrated, smooth start.
I love that. So tell me, where can we find the book? How can we connect with you? Because you also have the podcast. Where can we connect with you?
I will pitch Jillian's book. It's called Why Meditate? Because It Works. And it's really quite brilliant. I think it's in its 4th printing now. You can find it on your online retailers, or even better, go to your local bookshop and they'll be happy to order it in for you. It is really for people who are interested in learning about this practice specifically and the science behind it, what it does for mind and body and consciousness. It reads really, really smoothly and beautifully. You can also get it, of course, as an audiobook. And Jillian reads it. And as you can hear, her voice is lovely, really super easy read. And it will inspire you to either come and visit us in New York or London. We have many people coming in from all over the world, or to find someone who's teaching this technique properly.
Yeah. So we have our website, which is the main place. We have New York Meditation Center website, newyorkmeditationcenter.com, and we have londonmeditationcenter.com. And those places are really that's the starting point. Go there. And always what we recommend is that somebody signs up for an intro talk. That's the really way to get going. So they can do that online. And that's just 60 minutes of hearing us talk a little bit more elaborated than what we've done today about the science and how the course works and how we teach it and all of that. So then you're ready to get going and signing up for a course. But we ask that everybody does that intro talk first. And so that's sort of the gateway in to learning this technique in person.
You can also check us out on Instagram. If you search New York Meditation or London Meditation, our accounts will pop up. And I have a podcast called Speaking of Meditation. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find that. Really fascinating conversations with super interesting people who are out in the world, how they came to meditation, what they noticed in the early days, how it's affecting their lives. And this is business people and filmmakers and actresses and, a technology guy who lives in Pakistan, and just an amazing range of people. You'll find somebody who's personally inspiring to you and makes you want to do it.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. It's been such a pleasure sharing your presence with us today, Jillian and Michael. I'm such an honor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,